Do you know the no makeup look? Right.
Yeah.
Okay. You have the no car fan now because of your show, Sinead.
Yeah. Well, I watched the 2 we got sent last night.
Yeah.
And a bit like when I was talking about the League of Their Own, you don't need to be a car fan to love this programme.
Oh,
and I think
thank you.
But that's what people might not know when they hear.
That's why I'm touched.
I mean?
I'm moved. I hadn't written that down for her or anything.
No.
No,
I
but
actually
it's
said
true.
that spontaneously.
I love your little crew. Who's the
Well,
one with the bald head?
Sorry, before we get into the
Yeah.
crew,
Any of them, really.
can we just talk about the car that got you over the line?
Oh.
So it's a 1947 Delahaye. Please explain to people what that might be.
The 1947 Delahaye is a very Art Deco-styled swoopy car. It was the chassis and engine were put together by Delahaye. Then it was the era of coach builders. So you bought the chassis of the car, like the bit underneath and the engine, and then you'd pay somebody else to build a body for it. And the body for this one was made by a company called Chaperon. In France, there were some of the really beautiful coach builders, so they could really go to town.
How cool is that? So it's like going to sort of to Savile Row and getting a suit made. You could have any body you wanted.
Whatever you wanted. So then different coach builders would offer different body styles. And in the 40s, and weirdly, I've got same year, I think it is, a 47 Indian motorcycle. Very much the same style. It's like a two-wheeled version of that car with the beautiful swooping wings. It's a very romantic style of car. They're sort of full of flourish and passion.
It's the wavy wings. They look like waves rolling in against the shore.
Exactly right.
Don't they? Didn't Diana Dawes have a Delahaye? I think she might have done.
I believe so.
She loved
they
her
were quite a
cars.
sort of glamorous, fast, powerful car.
It does look like that of like Hollywood
Oh, yeah.
stars
Exactly
of
that.
old age. That's the type of car, if you don't know what a Delahaye is, which
Yes,
I didn't
very
before
sweet.
yesterday.
But
It's
listen
very
to her
nice.
now.
But hey.
Very nice you said that, because I've always said that about all the car shows I've done, is you don't have to be a car nerd to watch, because we do that for you.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's
that's
like
the bit I got wrong when I had to go.
Why?
Because you do the nerding, and I didn't realise I had to do the nerd.
Well, we kept that.
I was just a fan.
We kept that on the down low.
I know, but
I'm
you
gonna
knew
still-
it. See, I thought I
Yeah.
could do the show and not know it.
You can nerd. I've nerded out.
Not
with you.
not like you, nerd.
Oh, I've nerded out with you before now.
Yeah, but you were on my nerding grass.
Also, you got two radio guys, so it was just a lot of talking. Absolutely nothing was said. Literally nothing. An hour devoid
Shut
of
up.
content. I've just made a complete what's it of myself, by
Go
the
on.
way. I don't know why I'm sharing this, but it did make me laugh. I came in and Yamano said, "Oh, Rich, can you do us some of these drop-ins?" And
Yeah.
you'll know listening. You know when you hear a voice on the station, it says, "Good morning, everyone," or "Hello and welcome to."
Yeah.
And so when you're a guest, it's very nice to be asked. So you sit down in the little studio and you read out the things. And I went into full radio. "Hi, you're listening to Chris Evans." I did them all and I went through the whole list and I got to the bottom. I did the last one. Blah, 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 blah. Your Christmas cracker joke and... oh, no, that's an instruction. So I was supposed to tell a
Have we
Christmas
got
cracker...
it?
No, please don't.
Can we have the Paul McCartney, the full version of the Paul McCartney trail? So this is hot off the press, if you like.
You're listening to the Chris Evans Breakfast Show with Cinch on Virgin Radio.
I mean, give that man a voiceover.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I then went
Agent.
and read out the instructions.
No, I get that. Listen to this. This is Paul McCartney being asked to do the same thing for our show. Here we go.
Yeah.
You're listening to the Chris Evans radio show on Sky on Virgin 11. No? No? All right. Retention retention of a sponge.
You're listening to the Chris Evans Breakfast Show
Breakfast show
with Sky
with Sky.
on Virgin Radio.
On Sky
With Sky
with Sky.
on Virgin Radio.
Oh, God.
Watch me. So you're listening.
You're listening to the Chris Evans radio show with Sky. It's his breakfast show, as you know, with Sky on Virgin Radio.
That was
Yeah.
nice.
I got that.
Thank you
Punchy,
very
I
much.
Yeah,
like
we
it.
didn't have time for the interview after that.
That's all he did.
Yeah, hang on. Here's Richard's joke.
Your Christmas Day plans, or yes, I was reading it.
Oh no, we got outtakes. We have Hammond outtakes.
Yeah,
This is so
it's
cool.
a brief outtake. Yeah, that was poor. I just
All
carried
right,
on reading.
Back to the telly show. Here
Yes,
we go.
hello.
This is what you're on for. Richard Hammond stops by to tell us this morning about Richard Hammond's workshop.
Yes.
So now you're in, Sinead. Do you want to know about the
if you spend half the time working on customer cars to pay the overheads and half the time working on my cars, boom, I get them done. That would have been brilliant. Then I thought, wait a minute, that might make a nice little telly show. So then I got it commissioned as a TV show, which meant my ambition took over. So the workshop ended up huge. We employed more and more people. I'm ruined and none of my cars have been done. However, we are now building out what I still hope one day will be what I want it to be, which is a proper restoration house doing beautiful work. My granddad was a coach builder, so he trained as a carpenter, working wood, but then he worked at Mulliners in Birmingham. I mean, coach building is in the days when cars were built. That Delahaye that you liked, the body that Chaperon built for that, the shell of it, the shape of it is defined with wood. It's like wooden pieces, and then you have aluminium body panels usually sort of tacked onto it, literally nailed onto it to give the shape of the bodywork. So that's what my granddad did. So I've long thought, well, I've spent the last 25 years commenting on other people's work. I'd quite like to get my own company's work out there. Turns out running a business, really hard.
Yeah. Well, for me,
I'm not a businessman.
the word bankroll and bankrupt are just a few letters apart.
Aren't they? They really
Aren't
are.
they? And it's so scary how quickly they can come together as one.
At one point in this series, Kamla, our accountant, who does appear, because the show is about
Mostly about the accountant.
Just shouting at me. My attempts to set up a restoration business. So I had the bright idea. I thought this was a real good one, and I didn't see this coming either. Racing. Right, we need customers that love their classic cars, regularly dent them, want them repaired, and then dent them again. Racing, people who race classic cars. So I set up a race team as the smallest cog, which is the name of the workshop. And I had a little old MG BGT, which I subsequently discovered I'd actually given to Mindy some years ago, but I'd forgotten.
Nice.
Yeah. Unfortunately, she
not giving it to Mindy.
Well,
just
I
forgot. You bought it to give to Mindy.
I bought it to give to Mindy
then
for a
forgot to
birthday,
give it to her.
and then sort of it hung around with my cars, and I forgot that technically it was Mindy's.
It's not a horse.
Yeah. Next thing she knows, she looks at the car and it's turned into a race car. But I think by now, I think I've
Which
spent.
explains the holiday that we were talking about off the air.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah.
Anyway.
Could have been longer. So I turned it into a race car. So we've been campaigning that this series as well. Kamla shouted at me for that. I think I've blown 65 grand on that race car. And
But they do say, don't they, there's several ways to get a small fortune, and one is to start with the big one and form a race team.
Yeah, exactly right. I started with the small one and I've ended it with the smaller one.
Smaller
Yeah, it's really quite grim.
The even smaller cog, maybe.
It's exactly. But I'm loving the adventure of it, and I get I chat to a lot of folk who like it for the human bit of it, because cars are only any good when there's people involved. That's a fact. And also the reality of running a business, a small, modest-sized business. It's
So you
really
get
hard.
to go to the
Anybody doing
RAC club as well.
That's quite nice.
I know that if you're not a car person, but the Delahaye, it's not really. It's a design classic. It's a work of art. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. And you end up at the RAC club and you wheel it in rather proudly. Obviously, I don't want to do too many spoilers, but you are anxious. You're in your nightgown or your robe, your bathrobe.
I stayed at the RAC.
Yeah, out on the street looking for the trailer.
The others weren't allowed.
Barefoot.
Yeah.
Not in the park, in the street.
But the way they get the cars in at the RAC, I just can't believe it. They have to remove the entire door assembly.
Yeah, but it's they're the RAC.
But
They've got the tools.
Only in this country would you do, because that building was built to do what it does. I always assumed it had been adapted from something else, but it was right at the dawn of the motor car, early days, when it was still a novelty. Oh, look, Carruthers is coming up the drive and there's no horse. And a bunch of chaps got together and said, wait a minute, I reckon, chaps, these things could catch on. They could become quite a thing. There could be a whole industry based around them, because there wasn't. So they formed the Royal Automobile Club with the intention of sort of pushing the idea of it. So it was built as the RAC. That is confident, because it's a palace.
What about that swimming pool?
Yeah, it's
the best, isn't it?
all their facilities are fantastic. But imagine having the nerve, the confidence. It's a bit like when mobile phones started. Remember the first ones, and they had like a 10-minute battery life, and they weighed like a car battery. Lots of people thought, oh, this is great, I'm going to go into business doing it. But it is like somebody going, no, these things will catch on, and I'm going to build a gigantic palace to house a club for people celebrating them. And they did, and it worked.
I love a future classic, which is a car that comes off or has come off the production line recently, or even like now, today. And it comes off, you think, well, that's a classic. Born a classic. we have one of those in the first episode. It is an MX-5.
Yes.
And I was so pleased to see the MX-5.
They are a future classic.
Who was driving and not driving the MX-5?
Well, that was my mum.
Yeah.
And I was quite a crabby little boy on that day. I was in a really
What
foul
happened?
mood.
This is funny, man.
Because
the camera crew were around, and guess what happened next?
and I was under pressure. I was trying to research the colours of the Delahaye and make sure we did it right. And then the phone rang and it was my mum who'd broken down. She will be listening. I'm going to be very nice, but I was in a bad mood, and it was raining. And I grabbed the trailer on the back of my truck, went hooning out to go and get her. Quite a lot of it didn't go in because the trailer. I hate that trailer. It's an old trailer. We've replaced it now with a lovely shiny one because the ratchet handle didn't work to wind the ratchet in. And at one point I said, I've got a workshop full of experts and nobody's mended our own trailer. I lost my rag a bit. My mum was very
Literally,
pissed.
your mechanic's rag. It was
Yeah,
there to be lost,
literally
wasn't it?
lost it.
You had to
yeah.
take the mudguard off as well.
Yes.
To open the door.
Yeah,
to
I was
leak
just,
that out,
I was.
wasn't it?
But you're right, it's a future classic, the MX.
Oh,
Which, interestingly, it was based on a classic.
Yeah.
Because it was designed to sort of ape the MGs, wasn't it?
Yeah, and it's still awesome.
And now it's a classic in its
It's
own.
my
They
son's
are
favourite
fabulous.
car.
I love them.
1990, whatever it is, Mark 1 MX-5. Awesome. What else? So you were visited in episode 1 by the Sherlock Holmes, the ninja of paint of what do you call it?
Oh, when we're trying to get the colour right. 'cause the problem-
Who's that guy?
Yeah.
He's like the SAS, isn't he?
Yeah, with all his special kit.
Oh my God!
So they can actually spectrum analyse a colour. But the problem is a lot of the old colours from the very old cars were made using ingredients that are deadly. They're really poisonous, and you cannot use them.
Well, quickly, we haven't explained what's going on. So, car comes in Delahaye. It's a classic. It's in great nick, but it's the wrong colour. Only once it's taken back to its original colour, then you have to find out what that colour is. So you do all the analytical research, all the literature. You go to all these various places looking up old colours and colour codes. Then this guy comes in and says, well, there'll be some of the old colour on it somewhere.
Yeah, we found
and Neil's already found that. And then he comes in with all this like Ghostbuster stuff.
And what it's got to do is identify the colour, but they're not colours that you can just go and buy off the shelf.
Yeah.
You've got to mix them.
you've
But
got
the problem is you can't use the pigments that they would have used to mix the colour in the old days because
It'll
they're
kill
made of
everyone.
lead and really nasty stuff. So you've got to find out how close you can get to it because the car was originally owned by Chiron, who was a legendary racer for Bugatti. Get this, so he was a racer back in the day. In the days when a racer was a proper racer.
Yeah.
But he also earned his keep as hired a dance partner.
Yeah.
So he was
In inverted commas.
He was a proper chap. And we wanted to get it in the colours that he commissioned it in.
Yeah, and so the Bugatti Veyron is one of the most famous modern sports cars. And then there's the Chiron, and it's
Chiron.
in after him.
It is indeed, because he raced for Bugatti quite a lot.
That's crazy, isn't it?
He was a proper old legend.
All right, where else might the series go, as if you didn't know?
In the future, I don't know. Well, we have got the first motorcycle coming in this series coming up.
Come on, tell us.
Mid-series. I won't give too much away, but it may or may not be a Royal Enfield Interceptor commissioned by Royal Enfield to do it because they're launching a new one. So they paid me to restore an old one.
Right.
And then Neil, Andrew and I basically indulge our midlife crises by riding them out to France to deliver it.
Oh, no,
to
that's a bit Top
Wheels
Gear,
Race.
isn't it?
Well, no, it
That-
was very
that-
said. We had to, no, because they asked us to deliver it.
You trying to make excuses with
So
your eyes?
why would I deliver it in a
I'm
van?
not Mindy, Richard.
Why would I deliver it in a
Give me the
van?
look. Please,
Well,
darling.
Please let me go and
You've
do
already
this.
shot it. It's fine. You're there.
Please let me do it.
You're done.
It was great fun.
What else is going on with those other two characters you frequent the television screen with sometime?
They're getting older and fatter.
Yep.
They're well. I saw one of them last night, actually.
Any
Good
plans?
Fettel. We may or may not have just returned from recording again,
Right.
which was immense fun, really good fun. So yeah, we
How's
still...
that? How is that evolving? Does that evolve, or is it now like sort of a get together? The class of '91.
Yeah, I mean, it knows what
or...
it is because a lot of the crew, we all know a lot of that crew. They've done car shows forever, so we're still all.
Is it work still?
Yeah.
Yeah, always.
Oh, is it work or does it work?
No, it does work. I know
Is it work?
works.
It's all I've done. I mean, is this work? Are you working really? Are you?
Sometimes, but all the better for it, I suppose.
You
You know,
actually have got more energy since you stopped. I can see it in you. As soon as I'd forgotten. You did tell me at CarFest. By the way, thank you for looking after us. That was. That's
Have we made the cut?
Oh yeah. And we had a great time. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah,
Really enjoyed
because
it.
you were going to stick around for a couple of nights. Then halfway through the first night, you weren't going to stick around for any nights. Then you realised you were having a great time, and then we couldn't get rid of you.
Well, I'm
Basically.
Well, I'm quite shy by nature,
Which
and I
is
don't-
incredible,
I don't-
but true.
I am, and I had a gorgeous little caravan to stay in, which I was very happy in my Airstream. But I sort of thought,
What
I'm
do I
on
do
my
now?
own. What do I better go and find people? But everyone was so welcoming and lovely. It was perfectly possible to just potter about and say hello
Yeah,
to people.
and it's like you were drinking for two.
Yeah, well,
Thanks
it's
for that.
important. I picked up your slack,
You really
mate.
did.
You've got to work harder next time.
You were very impressive.
Yeah.
Maybe you've always been like that. It's just that you're a better drinker than me, and I couldn't see. But then, because I was stone cold sober, thinking, oh, he just likes to have a good time.
I was picking up your slack. You weren't making an effort. I was. So you are now. I'd forgotten. And I remember talking with you about it, and I said, "No, don't worry, Chris, because you were a bit that self-conscious stage when you're not drinking. You're thinking everybody else is going to have a problem with it.
Yeah.
But as soon as you get past 9 o'clock at night, if everybody else is drinking,
I was in bed.
They
Nobody
don't
noticed.
notice that you're not.
I know.
I'd forgotten that you had given up.
You had all the way through the weekend as well. You had that the smaller chap narrative with your friends about the incline, the chats about the incline.
Oh, that was brilliant,
hilarious.
Rob. That
And
was-
I thought you were all joking.
No,
and I thought,
we meant
no,
it.
there's a real thing going.
Yeah.
There's a real code here.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Would you like to share any of the
well,
code
basically,
with us?
if you're a chap of a less than statuesque stature, that's wrong. If you're not very tall, you do unconscious. This would never have happened in your life. You do naturally seek out higher ground, and I don't mean
Especially
like
at festivals.
yeah. Well, if you're standing on the grassy, if you're listening and you're perhaps not tall like me, you'll probably know what I'm talking about. Get in touch because I want to hear about it. When you're talking to somebody, part of your mind is thinking, oh, is that a curb? I could just stand up on the curb there. Or wait a minute, there's definitely a slope. There's an incline here. I could edge it. And what I'd noticed by talking to a couple of the chaps there was we were on a sloping bank having the conversation. And the shorter ones of us had been throughout the conversation edging
up the bank.
And we were competing.
And because there was more than one of them, I thought
we all
they're
ended up-
moving as one
we
here,
ended up 20 feet away from Chris.
like a
'cause we were
school
all
of
edging-
mackerel.
we were edging further
I'm
up
like,
the bank to get to the higher
If they don't
ground.
want to talk to me, you could just say, they went, no, it's nothing against you. We're just getting higher ground. But the problem is he's a bit higher than me now, and so we're all moving up. And
But it happens
by the end of the
automatically.
conversation, they were at another festival.
It was
Top of the
Bryden.
bank. It's me and Bryden were just slowly. And he was laughing because he confessed. But because we'd talked about it, we then realised, oh, yeah, I really do subconsciously did that. Without thinking, it's like an automatic part of my brain that does that, like at a reptilian level. While I'm talking, I'll slowly edge towards a bit of extra height.
hilarious.
I'd forgotten about that.
And because the average height, it seems, of the festival goer that weekend was probably
Yeah.
more yours than mine.
Yeah.
It was like ACA. It was like VCA, vertically challenged anonymous. It was like everybody came out of the woodwork, didn't they?
We did. And we just slowly inched up the
was
hill away from you.
hilarious.
Yeah, I'd forgotten all about that. That was great fun.